Hey guys, my name's Amanda. So I will be taking you through a yin class today, and our big focus today is going to be hips. So all the poses we'll be moving through, they'll really help to release any tension in the hips. Sometimes that can also cause tension in the knees or in the low back, so that'll help get rid of that. And the hips also hold a lot of emotion, so we'll be releasing all of that as well. Now, in our yin classes, generally we'll be holding these poses for about 3 minutes. So we want to feel really supported. I've got a few props with me today. So I've got some blocks. Blocks are great. If you don't have blocks, you could use books. And I do have a bolster. I realize not everybody has a bolster, so you could always use pillows. Pillows are actually great because you can use a bunch of different sizes as well. So I've got 2 pillows here. A blanket is really helpful to just help you feel really comfortable and warm. You can also roll up the blanket and sit on it. But I will let you grab these things and then we'll get started. Our first pose today is going to be butterfly pose. So I sometimes like to sit on a blanket or a pillow, just something to help you feel like you've got a little more space for your hips. So we'll grab a pillow. And I always like to sit towards the front of the pillow. That'll really help push you forward a little bit. And then in butterfly, we're going to start with our knees up, our feet are on the floor, and we'll just allow the knees to drop to either side. Now, if this feels a lot on the hips, you can always use things like blocks to place under the knees. You could also use pillows, just anything that helps you feel supported, because we really want to make sure we're able to relax in this pose. Now you could sit upright, or you can start to allow your body to fold forward. So if you find that's ever hard on your neck as you're folding forward, you could also take a couple blocks or a pillow, a bolster. Sometimes this is really nice just to create a little bit of like a stand almost for your forehead to rest on. So the biggest thing in yin is allowing the body to come to a point where we're feeling something, but not where we're stressing the body too much. So we often refer to this point as our edge. Feel free to close the eyes, finding stillness. So let's start to bring our attention to our breath. And now counting the inhale and exhale, let's start to elongate the exhale. So maybe if your inhale is for the count of 3, maybe your exhale will be to the count of 5. So let's try this out. So take an inhale, come to that magic number, maybe it's 3. Let's pause. And then let's extend the exhale. So again, maybe that number's 5. Whatever feels comfortable for you. And then let's do that again. So inhale, pause at the top of the inhale, and exhale, making that count just a little bit longer on the exhale. Let's do this again. Inhale. Pause at the top. And let's extend the exhale. Now you can allow your breath to come to its regular pattern. Notice how you feel. Maybe you feel a little more relaxed, a little more calm. And then very, very slowly, let's start to come out of this pose. You might use your hands to help the knees back together and just be really, really gentle. You might take your hands behind you. I like to walk my feet out a little bit, and then I almost move my knees just like windshield wipers. So going one direction and then the other, and then really just taking your time. Now we'll move to a caterpillar pose. So you could keep your pillow or your blanket, whatever you're sitting on. So in our caterpillar pose, we're gonna have the legs straight out in front of us, and we're literally just folding forward over the legs. So for some of us, if our hamstrings are a little bit tight, you might end up placing a towel or a rolled blanket just under the knees. If you have a bolster, you could do that. Sometimes these yoga blocks are really nice too. You could do something like this. And we're not really trying to grab for our feet or anything here. Again, this is a really, really passive posture. If you do have any neck injuries or any neck problems, you could always take a block just in between your knees, maybe 2 blocks, depending on the space you have in your legs. And then you can always just rest your forehead. Maybe you place a couple of pillows down. And once you've found this spot, this position that feels nice and comfortable, but where you still do feel a little bit of pressure, just allow yourself to come to stillness. After about a minute or so in this pose, you may find that you have a little bit more space. So you might end up moving a little bit closer towards your legs. If you have props, you might just adjust them a little bit. But we want to be asking ourselves anytime we feel the urge to move, we're asking ourselves, why? Why are we moving? Is it because we're bored? We're trying to add a distraction? That's where I would challenge you to stay. But if you do feel pain or anything like that, any type of like pinching or numbness, that's again a time where we would want to move. So just really listening to your body. Allowing the body to be still in these poses allows us to get into this really deep fascia tissue. And if we're not holding the pose for long enough, we just don't really get in there as well. We'll be here for a few more rounds of breath. Now very, very slowly again, let's start to come on up. You might move some props out of the way. Now let's bend our knees and we'll come to a cross-legged position. And we'll just take a bit of a twist to help release the spine. So inhale, let's sweep the arms up. And exhale, let's twist to the left. On your next inhale, let's bring the arms back up, come back through center, and this time let's twist to the right. On your next inhale, bring the arms back through center, hands come down through the heart. So let's set up for dragonfly pose. So this is a wide-legged straddle. So again, you could sit on a pillow or a blanket. Sometimes that does help. That does help you almost roll forward a little bit. We want to be on the front of the sit bones. And then we'll just bring the legs out. Again, whatever distance feels comfortable for you. Now you could have your hands behind you, sitting up nice and tall. Or maybe you start to fold forward. And again, if you have blocks or pillows, you can always rest on the pillow. Sometimes I like to use my elbows. You could rest your chin, depending where you're at. Now notice if there's any area that you're still holding tension in the body. We really want to make sure we're just letting everything go here. Notice if your shoulders are creeping up around your ears. Notice if you're clenching your jaw. And again, we're just finding this stillness. So stillness in the body. Anytime you find yourself being distracted or you find the mind chasing after a thought, you can always just connect back to your breath. Now let's just take a couple more breaths here. And then again, moving very slowly, let's start to make our way back up to a seated position. From here, let's bring the knees back up. You can help along with your hands. And let's do that windshield wiper motion again with the legs. So your hands could be behind you, feet could be a little bit wider than hip distance. And just rock the legs side to side. Now let's come to a seated position. From our seated position, let's just take a few cat-cows here. So inhale, pull the chest forward, look up. Exhale, curl the spine, chin comes to our chest. Let's do that a couple more times. Inhale, look up, lift the chest. Exhale, curl the spine. One more round. Now let's make our way to a tabletop position. So again, you might just move your pillow out of the way. You might need blocks for the next pose, so you could have your blocks or your props right next to the front of the mat for you. So from our tabletop, we'll be moving to dragon pose. So let's take our right foot between the hands. Just make sure your knee is stacked above the ankle. And now your hands could be on the ground, or again, if you have blocks or something to put your hands on, sometimes that's nice to add a little bit of height. Take a few moments here. Now you're welcome to stay in this version of dragon, or if you like, you can take your arms to your thigh, forearms to the thigh. This will just add a little bit more weight onto this hip, opening it up a little bit more. If for any reason this doesn't feel quite right, you can always place your hands back down. Now you're welcome to stay here, or we'll move into more of a lizard pose. So we'll just start to walk our right foot off the mat. So our heels on the mat, toes are turned out. This will help protect our knee. You could take your hands to the mat, or maybe you come down to your elbows. Or if you have a prop, you can always use that as a little bit of a cushion. Maybe one forearm comes down. Now, if you have the space and both elbows come to the mat, you might start to pull the knee away from you. You might find you roll to the outer edge of this right foot. See if you can find stillness. Let's start to move very slowly. Start to walk that foot back between the hands. And from here we'll be stepping back to a down dog. So you might just take some time here to walk out the dog. This should feel pretty good on that hip. And when you're ready, let's make our way back to a tabletop and we'll try the other side. So this time, let's take that left foot between the hands. So again, your hands could be on the mat here or maybe on a prop. You can also have fists on the mat. Sometimes that feels a little bit more comfortable. Now you're welcome to stay here, or if you wanted to come to a deeper variation, you'll place your forearms on your thigh and just allow that hip to drop. Again, just checking in with your body. Not pushing the body too far. Making sure you're not experiencing any pain or pulling. Just a little bit of tension. Feel free from here to come down to that lizard lunge. So again, we'll walk that left foot out. Heels on the mat, toes are off the mat. Both hands might come down, maybe the elbows, maybe one elbow. Maybe you have a pillow underneath your arms. And again, you might find this left knee pulling out to the side, and you might end up rolling onto the outer edge of this left foot. Where can you let go in this pose? Let's take a few more breaths here. And then you can start to make your way back up to your hands. Slowly start to walk that left foot in. And then whenever you're ready, we'll make our way to a down dog. And again, in this down dog, you can walk out the dog, bend through one knee, bend the other. Let's make our way to a tabletop position. So from our tabletop, let's take shoelace pose. So let's cross our right knee right over top of the left knee, and then pull your feet apart closer to the edge of the mat, and then we'll be sitting back between our feet. Now you can always sit on a pillow. You could have a block under your knee, maybe between the knees. So I'll just move so you can see. And we'll stack one knee right on top of the other knee, just as close together as we can be. But we want to make sure that both sit bones are on the ground. If this is ever too much, you could always take the bottom leg straight out in front of you. So coming into the half variation of this pose. Now you could stay seated upright, or again, keeping both sit bones down, you could start to fold forward. Maybe you take a block, rest your head on a block or a pillow. As you've found some stillness in this pose, check in with the body. If you feel any discomfort in the knees at all, you could always take this pose reclined as well, or take that half variation. Let's stay here for a few more breaths. And then let's very slowly come on up. Now you can take the feet wide again. And we can make this windshield wiper movement. Help to release that hip. And then when you're ready, let's move back to a tabletop position. And we'll move to the other side. So let's take the left knee, cross it behind the right, bring the feet wide, and then we'll sit back. So again, I'm just going to move. And you might find one side different than the other. That's totally normal. So again, all the options are here for you. You can sit on a pillow. You could have a block between the knees. You could have a block under both knees. Coming to a place where you feel really quite comfortable. Again, still a little bit challenged, but comfortable. You can always take that block or your pillow. Maybe you just rest on your knees. You could again stay upright, or you could start to fold forward. And we're just surrendering in this posture. Taking out any strain in the body, any muscle engagement. This practice of yin yoga and this being comfortable with stillness and letting go, this is really, really valuable for us off the mat as well. Moving through day to day, when we come across any type of challenge, this again helps to remind us to come back to this present moment, to this stillness, sometimes to our breath. Very slowly, let's start to make our way back up. Again, you could uncross the legs, and let's just rock the knees back and forth. When you feel balanced, we'll start to make our way to Shavasana, our final pose. So in our Shavasana, let's really set ourselves up here so we're nice and comfortable. You could place blocks under your knees. If you have a bolster, you could place that under the knees, or pillows under the knees. Sometimes that's really nice and helpful for the low back. You could also place a pillow under your head. And when you found a really comfortable resting position, just allow yourself this break. Allow yourself this moment. Let's slowly start to awaken the body. You could bring a bit of movement to your fingers, to your toes. Maybe you remove the blocks from under your knees. Take the arms overhead. Take a nice full body stretch. Hug the knees in towards your chest. And then eventually rolling to one side. When you feel ready, let's come to a comfortable seated position. Thank you guys for being here, for showing up today. Namaste. I'll see you next time.